to Phazon Labs, powered by World 1-1. This is our Metroid fanfic elevator pitch podcast, brought to you by Phazon Flakes, a radioactively delicious part of your balanced breakfast. I am, as always, your host, Larry the Bearded Wonder. Joining me this week is my co-pilot, Isabel Bramman.
Hello.
And our guest this week is Jack Wolf.
Hey there, how's it going, guys? My name is also Fluffy Wolf online.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Jack is joining us this week because Jack has our pitch for the week. So, without further ado, let's jump straight to the meat and taters. Jack, tell me about the game that I should be playing that we'll probably never get to, tragically.
All right, so let me go ahead and set the scene here for you,
Okay.
Larry and Isabel. Let me go ahead and set it for you here. So, we cut to space, that nice empty space. And we see Samus's ship flying about. She's sailing off to her next bounty. Whenever it's going to come up, she's looking for it, and surely enough, it'll come straight to her. But as our typical bounty hunter loves to always fall into this, she receives a transmission to her ship, a sort of distress call that's asking for help. And so Samus flies her ship to this weird dark green planet that is surrounded by two parallel, yellowish rings. And as she begins to, get closer to it, the ship suddenly experiences a surge of electricity that kind of shuts down the ship's system. She has no way of knowing where it came from. And then suddenly, a bright light flashes right in front of her console, and it causes her to black out. Then, Samus awakens within a kind of test tube while she's in her power suit, and it's in some kind of old, decrepit Galactic Federation lab. And as she begins to make her way out, she's greeted by some kind of scrambled anonymous voice that refers to themselves as the Analyst. And they announce that they have taken an interest in Samus's missions and her history. And so they've lured her to their facility, stripped her of her power-ups, and they've left her ship on the surface of the planet so that they can study her skills and capabilities as a hunter. And so, with this knowledge, Samus has to make her way through this unknown facility, playing the Analyst's game in order to try and find a way to, regain her powers, break out of the Analyst's grip, and pursue her captor to find out why they're studying her for.
Ooh.
I'm picturing memes already of Samus going, "Why for you study me?"
Ooh.
Though I feel like we might get those memes with Dread anyways.
Yes.
Oh, probably. But tell me, what do you guys think of this so far?
I'm here. I want to see where it goes.
So I'm thinking that it almost sounds like a, and this is gonna sound kind of silly, but like did you ever play the Stanley Parable, where the narrator kind of is yelling at you the whole time and is making fun of you? I almost am picturing that the Analyst is like that, where it's very kind of passive aggressive, and is constantly yelling and making fun of Samus, and then Samus is just fine, I'll play your stupid game, and then just wrecks the whole facility gradually as she gets through, and then the Analyst just gets more and more upset, and goes even crazier. I think that would be really funny, actually. So, but I like my Metroid games funny.
I haven't played Stanley Parable. It's been on the list, but it also sounds vaguely, what you're mentioning sounds vaguely like another game. I think it was Quantum Shift, had John Delancey as the narrator doing kind of that same thing.
I feel like I know that one.
I would say, you know who John Delancey is, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure we got that base covered. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, my intention with this game is that it's meant to be something of like a something more that dives into like puzzle systems and kind of testing a player's capability of like shine sparking and wall jumping. So, and I mean, we all know wall jumping in Metroid. It's a common trope that's like been there, but you know, something in the games they've never really fully like mentioned wall jumping. It's just something that's kind of been there. And I feel like with this game it would call more attention to, you know, the ability to wall jump and the ability to like figure out a directional shine spark and just kind of solving these puzzles in a creative kind of manner, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm almost picturing the, you know, like as you go through with the tests, you would kind of sort of learn these you would have like basic skills, like wall jumping, shine sparking, speed boosting, that kind of thing, and then you would combine those together in the different puzzle solving things, along with things like maybe switches and electricity and that kind of thing to really break your brain. I'm liking this so far. Yeah.
See, I'm with you. I'd love a more puzzle-centric, puzzle-focused Metroid game at some point. Like, I like the puzzle stuff that's in there, but it's always very light and something I think that like Dedicated leans into it. Almost from what you're saying and what I'm thinking is almost like a la Portal, which I'm here for, you know, bringing Gladys into the mix would be hella fun too.
You know, Larry, you exactly hit it like right on the head, because my inspiration for like thinking of this is from Portal, but also other kind of puzzle games like Helltaker and, you know, some other kind of puzzles in games like Resident Evil or Zelda Breath of the Wild. So like those kind of puzzles kind of influenced me in trying to think like, okay, so what about a puzzle-centric kind of Metroid game?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, see, I wouldn't mind like a small spin-off standalone that's literally just, you know, one section puzzles based around an, you know, an ability set. I think would be really neat.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. One thing that I was also thinking of, like with this game, is that, and this might cause some like grunts for some people, but I was thinking of it as sort of like also objective based, kind of like Samus Returns, where you hunt like a certain amount of creatures within an area in order to progress. Not your typical Metroids. I'm talking like different types of creatures that are native to like the planet that Samus is kind of trapped on. But also like other potential creatures or potential return bosses, like maybe our boy Crocomire or maybe Cray, perhaps something like that. Maybe, I'm not sure why they would be there, but you know, we could always find some good explanation for that. And I think another good one would be Mocktroids from Super Metroid. I think that those would be a good one.
Underappreciated.
Yes, exactly. So I think that they would also fit in pretty interesting to this setting too.
Now, I haven't played it, but I do know that in Nier, the first Nier game, they have like a certain like special temple where there are rules that you can't do a certain thing, like run or jump or that kind of thing. I think that would be like an interesting mechanic as well. Like you said, like with the objective-based thing is that like certain things would be shut down if you do something wrong and you have to redo something instead of dying, which I think would be kind of fun. Well, maybe.
I like that.
It would be interesting. Yeah, like there was like certain rules, like you couldn't jump, so you just had to like run around the whole room. And there was another one that you couldn't run, so you had to walk really slowly and fight the enemies. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly the temple that you're talking about. I also play a lot of Nier, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And that does sound like a pretty interesting aspect to like put to it too.
especially because if we're looking at the analyst as kind of like a weird jigsaw sort of character. Well, at least that's how I'm thinking of him, as like a kind of weird jigsaw, kind of having fun testing Samus, in a weird way, instead of just pure cold mechanical. I think that would be an interesting way to go about it.
So Jack, I'm curious, where does the story take us, and where does it end?
Okay, so where the story kind of takes us is that Samus would obviously have no choice but to kind of play the analyst game at first, you know. And an interesting thing that I figured would be put into this is that throughout this facility, as Samus is kind of making her way through, she sees that in her power-ups are stored by these kind of like quasi-Chozo statues. They almost look exactly like them, just they're very like shoddily built. They're incomplete, like metal statues, as if like they were built in a rush or something like that. So Samus, you know, after she gains these kind of her powers back, and who knows, some potential like new ones into the fray, the analysts would typically send a boss creature to come after her in order to like study her and see how she would do with these new kind of powers. But eventually Samus would break out from the analyst's control, kind of find a way to, you know, go into a really, really old and decrepit, desolate part of the facility, away from the analyst's eyes. And then this is where it starts to get really juicy as Samus begins to make her way back towards like the head of this facility, where she would eventually encounter the analyst. Now, the analyst like is something I'm still a little thinking about. I'm not exactly sure what kind of species they might be. You know, they're still. I honestly like the idea that they're this unknown figure, just this constant unknown figure that you don't really see. And actually, it's something interesting that Isabel brought up when we kind of like initially talked about this. She said that this kind of premise also sounds a little bit interesting, or not interesting, I'm sorry, a little bit like Prime 1.5, where there were the 4 AIs in the ship.
Yeah, the 2D game that Retro is toying around with.
Yeah. So Isabel brought up that idea, and that it kind of sounds a little bit like them, and I was like, you know, that's kind of interesting.
It solidly has a touch of that feel.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, and it's interesting because I'm not fully aware of like the details of Prime 1.5. It's something I still have to take a look at, so it's interesting to see that, you know, there's something close to this. But I mean, who knows? Maybe the analyst could just essentially be an AI as well. That might be an interesting concept to play around with. But when Samus would encounter the analyst as this final boss, the analyst would turn out to use all the data that they've gathered from Samus's journey and use it to fight against her. So it's sort of like, I guess in that sense, it would also sort of be like fighting against the SAX, where it's another character with Samus's abilities, and maybe even a little bit more so, fighting against her. And I think that it would be up to the player to kind of toy around and see how they could creatively attack the analyst, and see like what opportunities will open up for them to like jab at it, you know?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking like because I watched a little bit of Portal footage when you mentioned that, and like the it's like a puzzle boss basically, and I think it would be interesting if this one was a puzzle boss more, kind of like Diggernaut, you know, where you're kind of like going through like I'm almost thinking of like a giant mech actually, instead of like the SAX that's using the data against her. And then you're going through this mech and fighting it from the inside, and then you're kicked out again, and then you fight it. Actually, it makes me think of The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. There's a boss in there that you fight from the inside and the outside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't played that in ages.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite boss in that game. But that one you like, because in that game you shrink really small, and then you go inside and you beat it up, and then you get kicked outside, and then you have to fight it again. So that would actually be a fun puzzle solving element if you shrink really small and you go inside this mech to fight it. I don't know, just go back to Metroid Infestation, something like that, and you know. But yeah. No, I'm just thinking of like ways that you could break this mech, and like going back to the Breath of the Wild to that kind of thing, how you could play around with the bosses and beat them up with lots of different elements too. I could see lots of ways that you could play around with this. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious here, just because we were chatting about it earlier. What musically, what kind of tone are you hearing in your head for this setting?
Oh man, music. Okay, so I think that the best music that could kind of fit into this, and we can think of music like I may like say the name wrong, but the Phazon Labs song from Samus Returns, something very like quizzical and very like testy. And Portal is obviously like another good reference that we could look at too, where it's got these kind of maybe not synths, but it's very interesting, like testing and puzzling kind of music that kind of, it oddly fits it, even though like you're in some very decrepit lab trying to solve a puzzle.
Yeah. For some reason I'm thinking flutes, and I don't know why. I know nothing about music though, so but like I'm thinking lots of like flute music, and like woodwinds for some reason, like clarinets and saxophones. Get some saxes in there, yes. So, yeah.
That's an instrument I would not have automatically associated with the series, but I'd totally be okay with listening to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Cause for some reason I think of jazz, and I think of jazz as a good like steady listen music. So for some reason,
maybe like some foreboding, ominous jazz.
Yeah, I feel. Yeah. So I feel like some like foreboding smooth jazz, which does not sound like Metroid, but for some reason they could work, I feel. So.
You know what? There could be like a nice little nod to Portal, where like at one point when Samus just like after a very serious battle and she's kind of very like stressed out, the analysts could detect those stress meters and just be like, it appears that you're very stressed right now. How about I play something for you? And then they just proceed to put on smooth jazz.
Yes.
About 3.5 seconds of it, followed immediately by an obnoxious buzz.
Yes. Yeah.
How did that feel?
I like
if you manage to get your hands on the special edition Gladys amiibo, when Samus turns into a morph ball, she turns into Wheatley.
And there you go. She also gets a British accent for some reason. Yes. In the game.
Oh, that's so good.
I think this has officially gone down the most like parody level rabbit hole we've ever dove into.
It really has.
No, but
somewhere in this, I am perfectly okay with it though.
Yeah, because like honestly, I feel like as though a puzzle-based Metroid would be perfect for the series, and
yes.
having like a you know, like the analyst be sort of like Stanley Parable, Portal, kind of like sarcastic, and you know, Jigsaw kind of, you know, weird. I think, would be a really fun way to take the mad AI trope and put it on its head in the Metroid series instead of just, Mother Brain, basically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. Yeah, it would kind of, if we were going like the AI route, it would kind of sound a little bit like Mother Brain, but I'm actually like kind of fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in the sense that like the analyst is an Aurora unit or like a central intel unit like we've seen in Dread. Something more like digital in effect, but I'm starting to like really like the idea of them being like an AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe like a computer virus almost.
Ooh.
that they could be like constantly going to different computers instead of like a central computer. So like you're constantly encountering them.
That could lead to some
awesome.
really interesting narrative stuff too, if we're dealing with like an artificial intelligence that's been virally corrupted, where, throughout the whole thing, very rarely, but periodically you do hear like the actual base artificial intelligence trying to break out and break through, and it just keeps getting, swatted down. So you only get like, a half second or a half a sentence of it trying to get you some actual useful information before it, it's losing again and can't get past the virus that it's I could see it.
No, yeah, I
almost
absolutely
like
love that.
no, I would say almost like Carolyn from Portal, kind of creeping out, and Gladys kind of understanding what was there, and so you could see that. Also, I really want this character to be snarky enough to actually get Samus to flip it the bird.
Oh, I would absolutely love that.
Like, we got real close in Prime with the scene with Thardis. Like, that was close.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. No, yeah, I would
just
absolutely
walking by.
Yes. I would absolutely want the analyst to be like this snarky, like AI that's just at plenty of points driving Samus like insane.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so good, man.
Yeah. So do you have a title for this game?
Yeah, this is something that I've kind of been playing around with a little bit. I initially wanted to call this one like Metroid Project S, but now I've kind of shifted it just a little bit to call it Metroid Subject Aaron.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah. Cause yeah. I'm almost thinking like actually it's funny because I feel like as though the AI would just call her a number. So just like you are number 6. So so I like Subject Aaron a lot. And then I feel like as it would be a little bit of a red herring because it would just call her a number, which would tick me off as a player, and it would definitely tick off Samus. So, yeah, no, I like that a lot. Yeah, Subject Aaron.
I've got an option for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
But it comes by way of playing with the premise just a touch.
Okay.
Only in the outcome. In that you find out that this whole thing transpired because the analyst is literally, captured her for the sake of testing a hypothesis or a theory as to whether or not, Samus could survive this, that, or the other thing, or just it has some dysfunction where it's, trying to test this insane hypothesis and it's using Samus for it. And I like the ring of Metroid Hypothesis.
Ooh. That's pretty good.
That has a sexy, sciencey sound to it to me.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does. And Isabel, I really like what you said, the subject 6. But, like, just in the sense, and I'm sure that this is just a number that you kind of threw out there, but it's kind of implying that the analyst has also brought on other hunters to, like, experiment with. And obviously they were failures, so Samus is going to be their ticket.
Yeah.
Like, I like that implication, and how you said it doesn't really, like, it irritates you as a player.
Yeah. Because you feel like as though it's other lives have been thrown away, so you're kind of, Ooh. Metroid Hypothesis.
Ooh. So if she's subject 6, then there were 5 others before. If we go with the idea that the others were the additional hunters from Hunters, then there would be one more still floating around. Maybe end game she finds them, and it's a cooperative effort to break out and stop the analyst on their way out and escaping. So then you're actually having to save one of the hunters from Prime Hunters on the DS.
Maybe Silux. Maybe
I
a
haven't.
reluctant partnership.
Yeah. Oh, I have.
You know what? You first, Ann. You first.
Well, I was gonna say, because like my theory would be that you would find all the hunters, and like you would choose one, like you would choose your favorite, and then you would go with them for as your partner. So that way, then you would be able to. You could only choose one. The rest of them would be like extracted from the planet or something, because I don't think they should die. But yeah. Ooh, because then you could like have a little buddy, an AI buddy. Yeah.
That could be interesting, especially for like co-op instances.
Co-op puzzles. Yes, because Portal 2 has co-op puzzles, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yes, I love this idea. Yes. Yes.
I'm really
all
happy
right.
to hear
So if there's one hunter that you get to save at the end, who is it? Who's your pick?
Oh.
Isabel, you go first.
Well, okay, I confess that like my knowledge of hunters is limited because I'm still playing through the game, but I have to say that Spire probably is my favorite right now. It's probably gonna change, but Spire is pretty cool. But I love them all, so.
Spire would have been my call.
All right.
Yeah, they've got some interesting hunters there. I'm gonna sound cookie cutter here, but I gotta say, like, Silux, man, just to keep like an irritated feud going on between Samus and Silux.
Oh, that'd be such a fun counterpart to have with you, I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, no, I like this. How you would go have a co-op partner for the puzzles, and then they would be like an AI partner that you could control if you didn't have a co-op. Yeah.
All right, so Isabel took mine, so I'm gonna throw another one out there because he gets no love ever and nobody talks about him. I think Candon would be a great fit for this, given what little backstory we have of him, that he's essentially an escaped, lab project or lab creation, kind of revisiting that, traumatic experience of, being kept in a lab and experimented on. So
yeah.
I think that could play well with that.
Yeah, that was actually my second pick.
Okay.
But Spire is definitely my favorite so far right now. But
this is starting to make me think, like, depending on the hunter you choose, they each have their own kind of like little side story about how they feel about this whole thing.
Yes.
Like, obviously with Silux, I just said that he'd be very reluctant to work with Samus. And of course, with your choice, Larry, like, he would kind of express his misgivings about being a test subject again. Like, I like this. This is an interesting little development here.
Mm-hmm. This is perfect. I love it. Yes. I can't wait for it to come out on the, for Nintendo Online. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Get on it, Nintendo.
Yes.
Coming to a jailbroke Vita near you.
I love it. So are we going with Metroid Hypothesis then as our working title?
Jack, it's your call. This is your creation.
Yes, that's true.
I really like Subject Aaron, but I also really like Hypothesis, so I'm gonna say let's go with Metroid Hypothesis.
All right.
Done
give
and done.
that nice sciencey attitude to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then then I feel like as though the first thing that you would see in the manual would be Subject Aaron. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think then that's a great place for us to put a little bow on this episode for Phazon Labs. Jack, let people know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at fluffy_wolf with an E at the end to it. And I also stream on Twitch, which is just Fluffy Wolf. Just the O is replaced with a 0 and the E is replaced with a 3.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Isabel, where can they find you and what do you got going on?
Oh gosh. Well, the Metroid 35 on Twitter, because where the Metroid 35 zine is now massive. It is more than 100 pages. Oh gosh.
Oh yes.
Yes, it is.
I definitely want a printed copy.
Yes, the printed copies are, well, because the digital version is going to be coming out on August 6th, and then after that, there's going to be a printed version. So that there's going to be more logistics going on, logistical hijinks. So.
And a little side note on that, I also contributed a couple of pieces onto that too, so you can expect to see some of my work on there.
Mm-hmm.
And
where can they find you, Larry?
I have a personal Twitter that I almost never use, so the easiest way to find me and get a hold of me is reach out either through right here at Phazon Labs on Twitter. You can also hit me up over at World1_1 podcast. That is our flagship show that Phazon Labs is powered by. And then the newest project that we've launched as well is Hard Copy Hounds, which is a weekly show to keep you up to date on all the limited print physical releases available for your purchasing enjoyment. Work in progress, but it's coming along. So if that's your bag and physical games matter to you, then you should definitely go scope that out at Hard Copy Hounds on Twitter as well. And you can find this show and all the other shows, as well as all the other new stuff coming, all in the same podcast feed. That's world11.podbean.com, all spelled out, all one word. And you can, of course, also pick us up on our YouTube channel, World11 Podcast on YouTube. So beyond that, I think that covers it. So with that said, I want to say thank you to Jack for joining us this episode this evening, and thank you to my trusty co-pilot Isabel Bramman, and we will see you all next mission. Peace.
Good night.
Bye.